Hey everyone, a question I get often is now still a good time to buy Bitcoin at $104,000 per coin? Or should I start dollar cost averaging, DCA, which means buying the same amount of US dollars worth of Bitcoin every week? Or should I wait and just wait for lower prices? Of course, I never recommend just waiting for lower prices. Bitcoin has left behind millions of people over the years who have waited for lower prices rather than just, jumping in. So that being said, I'm officially going to roll out with this video my recommendation because I want to make the recommendation in advance rather than wait for, the epic price cycles that tend to get people to feel all euphoric and all that sort of stuff. So I've said before that below $110,000 per coin, I'm recommending people just buy whatever Bitcoin they're going to buy. Just do it. Close your eyes, hit buy, and, store it in a safe place like BitKey, and just don't think about it for years. Again, unless you're buying so much Bitcoin that you're using the Coinbase debit card to buy stuff because it's your, primary source of money, like me. But a lot of people are not there yet. They're just using it as a long-term savings and investment rather than a daily spending money. So below $110,000 per coin, right now we're at 104. So below 110, I just think, buy whatever you're going to buy, hold on to as long as conceivably possible. Between $110,000 per coin and $120,000 per coin, I haven't committed to this, but I will probably recommend people buy what, if they have an amount of money that they're going to buy. If they say, okay, Joel, I'm going to buy $1,000 or $5,000 or $10,000, I will probably recommend they buy the half of that they buy immediately, and the other half they dollar cost average, which means break it up into however much you're going to buy per week, and just buy that much per week and just put it on autopilot. And the best platform to do that on is River, RIVER.com. River has 0 fees on recurring purchases after the first week, and so it's super easy to set it up and just buy the same amount every week. And again, after the first weekly purchase, starting with week 2, you don't pay any fees on the River platform to buy Bitcoin that way, and you just accumulate over time. Between $110,000 and $120,000 per coin, that is what I think I will recommend, or that is what I am tentatively recommending. And above $120,000 per coin, I will probably recommend people mostly dollar cost average. So according to James Check, my favorite Bitcoin analyst that goes by the name Checkmate, according to his analysis, which is all on Substack and available, some of it for free and some of it by subscription, according to him, we are in the 4th quarter of this Bitcoin bull market. Bitcoin bull markets tend to have 4-year cycles, and the current cycle started in the 4th quarter of 2022. And according to him, we're sort of in the 4th quarter of this Bitcoin bull market. And so we will likely see a significant, or at least moderate, price correction at some point. Maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's 12 months, 18 months, I don't know. Somewhere along the way, we will get some meaningful price pullback. And I totally understand that even if the right thing to maximize your long-term gains is to just buy as much Bitcoin as you can and hold on for it as long as possible, that is psychologically hard for people to ride out a dip. Some people capitulate. They buy at, let's call it some number at above $120,000 per coin. Then the price dips to 110. They can't take it anymore. They sell Bitcoin. So they bought it at 150. They're selling it at 110. None of that makes any sense. It's the worst financial decision they could ever make because 110 ends up being the bottom. And then it just marches higher and higher into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. But every cycle people do that. And a great way to avoid doing that is dollar cost averaging. So above $120,000 per coin, I will probably recommend people start dollar cost averaging by buying the same amount every week. That way, if the price is high, you're buying, and let's say you're buying $100 a week, you're buying a little less Bitcoin. It costs you $100 regardless, but you're buying a little less Bitcoin per week when the price is high. But then when the price, corrects and comes down, you're buying more Bitcoin per week because your $100 buys more of a Bitcoin when the price is lower as compared to higher. But it's a great way to just psychologically not have to worry about it, rather than stressing out for months at a time about how your Bitcoin investment is underwater. And then inevitably, with time, it's way above water. But a lot of people don't like that emotional feeling of being underwater, even if long-term it ends up being the best for long-term gains. So to recap here, below $110,000 per coin, my instincts say buy as much Bitcoin as you can, lump sum, just buy it, whatever you feel like you can afford, and hold on to it for as long as possible. I think I will recommend between $110,000 and $120,000 per coin that people put 50% of whatever they're planning to buy in immediately, and then dollar cost average to the rest. And the problem is, dollar cost averaging is like, over what time period? Is that a month? Is that a year? Is that 18 months? I don't know. That's the reason I don't like dollar cost averaging, is because it triggers the question of, okay, but even if weekly is the right amount, is the right time period, how long do you let it run? Well, if it's the sort of thing where you can afford it based on your income streams, then just let it run indefinitely. Because if that's what you can afford, just let it run until you turn it off. And that's by far the easiest thing. But if somebody has $10,000 they want to buy, and the price is above 110, I will probably tell them, look, buy 5,000 of it right now. Just keep it simple, buy it, and spend the other $5,000 once a week over some time frame that you got to decide what that is. I don't know, which is why I don't like dollar cost averaging. But at some point when the market is all frothy, especially if we're above $150,000 per coin, people are going crazy, and maybe the long-term sustainable demand is not quite there yet. I don't want people to just blindly be buying huge amounts of Bitcoin above $150,000 per coin if they don't have the stomach to ride the ups and downs until it's consistently higher. And we could go for a period of 6 months or 12 months or something like that. Let's say Bitcoin goes up to somewhere between 168,000 and 220,000. And then, someone buys way up in the thin air up there. And then they have to spend 6 or 12 months underwater before Bitcoin starts marching up into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's just painful. So I try to avoid people having to go through that. So I'll probably recommend below 110,000, buy as much as you can, lump sum up front. Between 110,000 and 120,000, buy 50% of whatever you're planning to buy immediately, and buy the remainder over some time period, just buying the same amount every week on River with a recurring purchase. And above probably, $120,000, the easy thing is just to tell everybody just dollar cost average. But again, the reason I don't like dollar cost averaging is because it makes you determine for what time period. And especially if you have an upfront lump sum amount you want to buy, then it's hard to decide how long that time period should be, because, you want to get it invested in Bitcoin sooner rather than later. But if you're dollar cost averaging, you got to decide, is that over 4 weeks? Is that over 6 months? Is that over a year? Is that over 18 months? It's just hard to decide, which is why I tend to not like that approach. But anyway, just wanted to provide some perspective. Right now, we are below $110,000 per coin. So I think the decision is easy, which is buy as much Bitcoin as you can, buy it immediately. Don't think about, don't go through the rigmarole of thinking about dollar cost averaging, because I think where we are right now, it's better for the long-term total gains if you just buy whatever you can instead of worrying about dollar cost averaging and things like that. But this is not financial advice. I don't know. I've just read a ton about Bitcoin, and I've been involved as an owner of Bitcoin for 8 years now. And so I've been through lots of ups and downs in the last 8 years, and that just feels like what feels right to me based on my historical perspective. So I hope that helps. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks.